Hollywood is really terrible. You talk about racist. Hollywood is racist. What they're doing with the kind of movies they're putting out is actually very dangerous for our country. What Hollywood is doing is a tremendous disservice to our country.
President Trump calling out Hollywood over a controversial new film set to be released by NBC Universal. It's called The Hunt, and it centers around elites hunting and killing deplorables. A plot some are decrying as insensitive in the wake of recent mass shootings. Chief correspondent Jonathan Hunt has the backstory.
Good evening, John. We should point out off the top here that we have not seen the movie. We have not read the screenplay. As far as we're aware, neither has the president, and we have not seen any suggestion, as he appeared to make, that race is anything of a factor in this movie. But there are political overtones in the trailer, and the Hollywood Reporter claims the movie was originally called Red State versus Blue State. It also reports that early in the screenplay, one of the characters says, quote, "Nothing better than going out to the manor and slaughtering a dozen deplorables." That, of course, is the same word Hillary Clinton famously used to describe Donald Trump supporters during the 2016 presidential election campaign. We cannot independently confirm that line about deplorables is in the movie. What we have seen is one of the trailers released by Universal in which two characters talk about the right of wealthy people to hunt other humans.
We pay for everything. So this country belongs to us.
It's just business. Hunting human beings for sport.
They're not human beings.
Now Universal is having second thoughts about the movie's themes and possibly even its release, telling Fox News in a statement, quote, "Out of sensitivity to the attention on the country's recent shooting tragedies, Universal Pictures and the filmmakers of The Hunt have temporarily paused its marketing campaign and are reviewing materials as we move forward."
They need to be thinking of more creative ways to try to tell messages. And when you have hyper-political kinds of confrontations with gory violence thrown in, I just think it's a cultural loser. And I just think it's too bad that the Hollywood, quote-unquote, entertainment industry can't do better for our society.
Now, this is not the first time by any stretch that real-life events have affected a movie's reception or release. Collateral Damage, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, was pushed back after the 9/11 attacks. And in 2017, the remake of Death Wish was delayed several months after the mass shooting at a concert in Las Vegas. For now, the projected release date for The Hunt remains the same, September 27th. John?
Jonathan Hunt, thank you. Joining us now, Michael Knowles of the Daily Wire, host of the Michael Knowles Show. You know, Hollywood loves to slam the president for, as they put it, dividing the country. And yet they put out a movie like this?
Of course, I live in Hollywood, and it truly is Gomorrah by the sea. But I actually disagree with the criticism of this movie. In particular, I think it is admirable that Hollywood is finally admitting what we have all seen far too clearly this week, which is that liberal elites genuinely detest their fellow countrymen who are conservative. You know, there was a CNN contributor, Wajahat Ali, who said that a public call to murder Mitch McConnell gave him faith in the country. Former CNN contributor and current cannibal Reza Aslan publicly called for the murder of senior counselor to the president, Kellyanne Conway, this week. I mean, this has been shown again and again. Mainstream liberals, mainstream Democrats, all the way up to Joe Biden, who is openly condemning the president and consequently half of the country as white supremacists. We are seeing that not just the fringes, but the mainstream left in this country genuinely despises conservatives. Hollywood didn't invent this. They didn't come up with the title deplorable. That was Hillary Clinton in 2016, who called half her countrymen deplorable and irredeemable. Art is supposed to reflect life, and from what we've seen of this movie, it seems that it's actually doing a pretty good job of reflecting the political situation in this country.
So is that why NBC Universal is so politically tone-deaf that they're only willing to suspend the promotional campaign, but apparently they're still going to release the movie?
Of course, I hope they do release the movie. I mean, NBC Universal is putting it on. They probably have an insider track into how liberal elites really view half of their countrymen because they own NBC News and MSNBC News. I think this is a movie that conservatives should encourage to be released. It shows that disdain that we have long suspected is true of our liberal elites. It doesn't cut both ways for conservatives viewing liberals in this country. You don't see movies in the other direction because conservatives don't actually want to go down there. We don't have these sick fantasies about liberals in this country. But the mainstream left genuinely does. We've seen it for this whole past week, and I look forward to seeing the movie.
It's quite similar to, you know, the Hollywood actors, the Liam Neesons of the world who blast individual gun ownership, for instance, but then have guns featured in every single scene of the movies that they make.
Of course, it's total hypocrisy, and you've seen the hypocrisy in the reaction, not just to this movie, but the reaction to those tragic shootings that occurred a week ago, which is we're told that we need to tone down the rhetoric, we need to tone down the hatred, we need to have love for our fellow countrymen. But just look at the vitriol that has poured out all week from people on Twitter all the way up to Mika Brzezinski on MSNBC, who said that President Trump wants more of these white supremacist mass shootings, all the way up to presidential candidates. That is the reality that's going on here, and there is so much tripe that comes out of Hollywood, so many ways in which Hollywood tries to portray leftists as good and noble and wonderful and perfect and virtuous, and conservatives as awful and deplorable. And I think here you're actually seeing that script flip, whether it's because of some bizarre fantasy that leftist Hollywood has, or because they're actually intuiting the culture. But either way, I totally welcome it.
Be fascinating to see whether anybody at NBC Universal is watching your thoughts and what decision they make about whether to actually release this film or not. Michael Knowles from the Daily Wire. Michael, thank you.
Good to see you. Thanks.
Would